that were on the list that was sent to you. As usual, though, I'm not going to play entirely fair. I'm going to start about halfway through the list. Many states have, Tennessee families with working parents face significant stress coordinating work and family responsibilities. MIT Professor Tom Copeman, who is a former president of our parent group, LIRA, wrote recently, quote, "It's time for business, labor, and government leaders to get to work on building workplace culture and relationships that are needed to make a comprehensive work and family legislative framework that will pay off for workers, employers, and the economy by finding new ways to train, reward, consult, and work cooperatively together." What do we do about working families in the current generation? How would your administration address this problem? Well, let's see. You went first before, so let's have Ward go first on this one.
Certainly.
Michael?
Oh, thank you. Working families. That's always going to be a challenge. And I don't have a good, pat answer for this. The answer I do have is that a lot of people have lost hope. And one thing I liked about the panel previously was that we really talked about education and education that provides a success-proven path, and that the way I say it is that we have focused for so long on K through 12 education that we have neglected to provide people success-proven paths into the future. And I think a big part of how families deal with this, as I have thought about this and thought about the question for a long time, is that we have to get away from the K through 12 system that says if you don't go to four-year university or college, that you're a failure, that the training starts earlier, that people step out of education if they need to and they can step back in, that they have the entryway to be able to do that, that we have more opportunities, more programs, more ways to go into that enrollment program at the community college or with the labor program. And I really see the opportunity being, in terms of families and how we deal with this, that we don't have people who fall through the grid. The regenerative grid of Tennessee is going to be our system of education across the state and really linking our community colleges, technical schools, and other educational programs so that everybody not only has a fair shot, but is on a continuous education base, and we can become not the educated state, but the educating state. And that's how we take care of our families.
Mike, what would you say about the working family problem? And it obviously is one.
You know, this is something I really do relate to because I think I am in a working family, and I well understand the stresses that are placed on working families. People are living longer now, thankfully, and you get in situations where you not only have teenagers at home, but you have parents who are a little elderly. They may not need constant care, but they need a lot of attention. And it creates a lot of stress on families, particularly nowadays where you've got two working people in a family that have to work in order to sustain their lifestyle. So I am very, very conscious of the fact that we have got to embrace change in that regard. You know, one of the things, I'm a fairly small businessman. I've got 50 people that I work with in my company. And one of the things that I deal with constantly is somebody coming in and talking about a family situation. I need time off. I've got to take care of my parents. I've got to do something with my kids. And those are the kind of things that we need to make sure that we can accommodate going forward. There's another question that they have asked us to address, and that is misclassifying workers and underrepresenting the number of hours they work. change, and I'm not jumping ahead of your question, I apologize, Professor, but I'm all for creating change and making that available to Tennessee's working families. But I also want to make sure that any legislation that we do pass in that regard does not allow employers to create loopholes where, for example, if somebody is working from their home, that they are given credit for those hours that they do, because I think that's what you're going to see in Tennessee's future. I know that's what I have in my business. I've got a lady who runs all of our accounting procedures, and much of that she can do from her computer at home when she needs to be at home. We need to make sure that we have legislation and that we have a marketplace that accommodates those kind of needs, because it's essential to our productivity and being able to develop our efficiencies going forward. So I think I'm living that. I well understand the rigors of a working family and what is going on there. We need to be very sensitive to their needs and responsive to them.
There's a little ESP going on around here, because I had in mind that I was going to ask question 2 next. And lo and behold, Mike brought up one phase of that second question, which is the problem of what we lawyers call independent contractorship. And that is labeling people independent contractors who in fact are really employees and who ought to have the protection of things like the Fair Labor Standards Act, workers' compensation, and so on. It's a way of saving money, and everybody wants to save money, so the motivation is easy to understand. But it's a real problem for the people who get misclassified. And this question asks, well, what can we do about this and about compliance with labor and employment laws generally?
Is it okay if I go first?
Since you are in the middle of it, we won't stop. You're bigger than
Well, I'm well familiar with what exactly they're talking about. I sat through those state audits before myself and met with them talking about classifications of people who are working in our company. And I think I play by the rules. I know I play by the rules. And I well understand how that drives the cost for my company when somebody else is a cheater in that regard. It's really not fair, not only to the workers, but it is not fair to the other industries in this state who do play by the rules. Because these other people are not paying their fair share. That means the companies that do pay their fair share have to pay more. So there is no question in my mind, having seen this firsthand and having dealt with it firsthand, that we need to make sure we've got good enforcement in this regard. By the way, the guy that I've dealt with, he's a pretty good enforcer. So, if they're all like him, we're in pretty good shape in that regard. But where he finds somebody who's violating, I am definitely in favor of stiffer penalties in that